Hello, grade 9 students. Welcome back to our science class. We are now in the week 5 of the first quarter. For today's lesson, we will continue our discussion about non-Mendelian inheritance. At the end of this lesson, you should be able to demonstrate an understanding of the different patterns of inheritance. Specifically, you should be able to explain multiple alleles and solve problems related to multiple alleles. Let's have a short review of the previous lesson. Last week, you have learned that non-Mendelian inheritance is a general term that refers to any pattern of inheritance in which traits do not segregate in accordance with Mendel's laws. There are different types of non-Mendelian inheritance, such as sex-related and incomplete dominance. Sex-related inheritance is the expression of the traits determined by or related to one's sex. This can be further classified into three: sex-linked, sex-limited, and sex-influenced traits. Can you still recall the definition of each? I'll give you a few seconds to think about it. Great! You were able to match all three of them. Look at these fur balls. Aren't they cute? Kidding aside, this figure illustrates different patterns of inheritance. What pattern is illustrated by the fur balls in column A? You're right. Column A illustrates Mendelian inheritance. Notice that the first two fur balls are blue and yellow respectively, while the third one is also blue. This indicates that blue is dominant over yellow, which is characterized by Mendelian inheritance. What about the third column? That's correct. This signifies incomplete dominance. Notice that there is a third or a new phenotype, which is a blend of the first two phenotypes. Now, look closely at column B. What do you think is this? Actually, this is not really included in our lesson, but it's good to know what type of inheritance it is. What have you noticed on the third fur ball? Yes, that's right. It seems that the first two colors are on the third one. This is codominance, a non-Mendelian inheritance wherein both alleles of the parents are expressed at the same time on their offspring. Let's continue our discussion about non-Mendelian inheritance. This time, we'll talk about multiple alleles. Multiple alleles is a type of non-Mendelian inheritance that involves more than just the typical two alleles that usually code for a certain characteristic in a species. There are more than two phenotypes available depending on the dominant or recessive alleles that are available in the trait and the dominance pattern the individual alleles follow when combined. Best example for this type of inheritance are coat colors in rabbits and blood types. One example of multiple alleles is rabbit coat color. There are four alleles for rabbit color: uppercase C for black, lowercase c ch for chinchilla, lowercase c h for Himalayan, and lowercase c for albino. Uppercase C is dominant, while lowercase c is recessive. The order of dominance of the alleles is this: black is dominant over chinchilla, over Himalayan, over albino. Let's find out the possible genotypes for each rabbit color. The first rabbit is black, which is also its phenotype. Black is dominant trait in rabbit coat colors, having uppercase C as its allele. Applying the law of dominance, what do you think will be the possible genotypes for black? You're right. The possible genotypes are uppercase C, uppercase C, uppercase C, lowercase c, ch, uppercase C, lowercase c, h, uppercase C, lowercase c. As long as the allele for black coat color is present, it will mask the other allele. The next one is chinchilla, represented by C-CH allele. This coat color is dominant over Himalayan and albino, so the possible genotypes are the following: lowercase c-ch, lowercase c-ch, lowercase c-ch, lowercase c-h, and lowercase c-ch, lowercase c. The third one is Himalayan, having as CH as its allele. Himalayan is dominant over albino, so the possible genotypes are the following: lowercase ch, lowercase ch, and lowercase ch, lowercase c. The last is an albino, which is a recessive trait represented by lowercase c. So, what do you think is the possible genotype for this trait? You're right. We only have one genotype available for this one, which is lowercase c, lowercase c. Another example of multiple alleles is blood type. There are 3 alleles for blood type: uppercase IA for allele A, uppercase IB for allele B, and lowercase I for allele O. Uppercase IA and uppercase IB are both dominant, while lowercase I is recessive. Let's find out the possible genotypes for each blood type. The phenotypes for the types of blood will be the same as its name: A, B, AB, and O. Remembering the order of dominance that we discussed a while ago, uppercase IA and uppercase IB are both dominant, while lowercase I is recessive. So what do you think are the possible genotypes for blood type A? Since uppercase IA is dominant over lowercase I, the possible genotypes are the following: uppercase IA, and uppercase IA, lowercase I. As long as uppercase IA is present, it will mask the recessive allele lowercase I. What about for type B? What are the possible genotypes? Same with type A, uppercase IB is dominant over lowercase I, so the possible genotypes will be the following: uppercase IB, and uppercase IB, lowercase I. For type AB, uppercase IA and uppercase IB alleles are both dominant, so the only possible genotype for this is this: uppercase IA, uppercase IB. As for type O, lowercase I being a recessive allele, the only possible genotype is lowercase I, lowercase I. Let's try solving this problem involving rabbit coat color. Indicate the genotypes and phenotypes of the first filial generation from the mating of a heterozygous Himalayan coat rabbit with an albino coat rabbit. Let's try solving the problem. First, identify the genotypes of the given phenotypes. Heterozygous Himalayan coat color, meaning it has 2 different alleles. Himalayan coat has 2 possible genotypes, and the heterozygous one is lowercase ch, lowercase c. On the other hand, albino has 1 possible genotype, so it's definitely lowercase c, lowercase c. Then, draw the Punnett square. Write the genotypes: lowercase c, and lowercase ch, lowercase c. Take note of how the genotypes are written. Now, pause this video and try to do the cross. Let's see if we will have the same answer. Let's do the cross. Lowercase ch and lowercase c, you'll have lowercase ch, lowercase c. Lowercase ch and lowercase c, that's lowercase ch, lowercase c. Then, lowercase c and lowercase c, it's lowercase c, lowercase c. Finally, lowercase c and lowercase c, you'll get lowercase c, lowercase c. Did you get it right? Now, let's interpret the answers that we've got. Based on the Punnett square, the genotypes of the offspring are the following: lowercase ch, lowercase c, and lowercase c, lowercase c. The genotypic ratio are 50% lowercase ch, lowercase c, and 50% lowercase c, lowercase c. As for their phenotypes, we need to take into considerations the order of dominance of the rabbit coat color alleles. Lowercase ch, lowercase c. Since lowercase ch is dominant over lowercase c, therefore, this offspring is a Himalayan. Lowercase c, lowercase c. All alleles present in this genotype is recessive. Therefore, this offspring is an albino. As for their phenotypic ratio, all are 50%. Let's have another example, but this time it will be blood type. A woman with blood type O and a man with a type AB blood are expecting a child. What are the possible blood types of the kid? In solving this problem, first, identify the genotypes of the given phenotype. The genotype for type O is lowercase I, lowercase I, while for type AB is uppercase IA, uppercase IB. Draw the Punnett square. Then write the genotypes. Uppercase IA, uppercase IB, and lowercase I, lowercase I. Take note of how the genotypes are written. Now, pause this video and try to do the cross. Let's see if we will have the same answer. Let's do the cross. Uppercase IA and lowercase I, you'll have uppercase IA, lowercase I. Uppercase IB and lowercase I, that's uppercase IB, I. Then, uppercase IA and lowercase I, that's uppercase I, lowercase I. Finally, uppercase IB and lowercase I, you'll get uppercase IB and lowercase I. Did you get it right? Now, let's interpret the answers that we've got. Based on the Punnett square, the genotypes are the following: uppercase IA, lowercase I, and uppercase IB, lowercase I. As for the genotypic ratio, both are 50%. For the phenotypes, we need to take note that uppercase IA and uppercase IB are dominant over lowercase I. Uppercase IA, lowercase I. Since uppercase IA is dominant over lowercase I, therefore, this offspring has blood type A. Uppercase IB, lowercase I. Since uppercase IB is also dominant over lowercase I, this offspring will have B as its blood type. As for their phenotypic ratio, all are 50%. Let's have a short recap of what we have discussed today. Multiple alleles is an example of non-Mendelian inheritance, which involves more than two alleles that usually code for a certain characteristic in a species. Some examples of this are coat colors in rabbits and blood type. For rabbit coat colors, there are four alleles governing it, which are the following: uppercase C for black, lowercase c, ch for chinchilla, lowercase c, h for Himalayan, and lowercase c for albino. Black is dominant over chinchilla, over Himalayan, over albino. As for blood types, there are three alleles governing it, which are the following: uppercase IA for allele A, uppercase IB for allele B, and lowercase I for allele O. Uppercase IA and uppercase IB are both dominant, while lowercase I is recessive. Now that we are done discussing multiple alleles, let's talk about the activities that you will need to work on this week. You will be working on Learning Task 5 on page 23 of your Science module and Performance Task 2, which is provided by your science teacher. For Learning Task 5, you will determine the first and second filial generation of the crosses between a black rabbit and a chinchilla. In letter A, you will show the cross between a black rabbit and a chinchilla using the given genotypes. Then list the phenotypes and genotypes of the offspring with their corresponding ratio. The offspring that you will get in letter A will be used in answering letter B. Write the coat colors of the rabbit that you will be crossing. Show the Punnett square, as well as the phenotypes and genotypes of the offspring with their corresponding ratio. For Performance Task 2, you will apply what you have learned from weeks 4 and 5 in solving a mystery involving genetics. You will develop a series of Punnett squares based on the given traits to eliminate the imposters and find out who is the real heir of the deceased couple. Your work will be rated based on the following criteria: content and accuracy in terms of identifying the correct genotypes and showing correct Punnett squares, explanation and elimination process, and creativity and neatness of your work. This activity has 3 parts. For part 1, you need to identify the genotype of the persons involved based on the given table. Then, draw the Punnett squares showing the possible offspring of the couple based on the given traits. Finally, explain who will be eliminated based on the process. The alleles that you will be using in this activity have already been provided for you. You will do the same for part 2 and part 3. For the final question in part 3, you will state who the true heir is and justify your answer. And that's the end of week 5. Thank you for listening and see you next week.